What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stokastic here on the OddsShopper channel coming with another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks Monday Night Football. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Goes a long way for me on this video. Goes a long way for you. That way you become surprised whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. Thank you, Devon Achan, for finally finding the box because, well, you had like 3 opportunities multiple times there. And then they bring Raheem Mostert in. He gets hurt. It's like goal line backs there. Devon Achan scored. That was important. Also, we swept Thursday the entire board. We smashed Monday. We smashed a lot of these primetime slates. So let's keep that going. I'm not going to jinx it. Producer Jacob's here. He's ready to rock. Really nothing else to add. I mean, I'm happy with everything from the NFL street so far. Some of the stuff that we lost too. I mean, I felt pretty good about that over a Pittsburgh-Baltimore. Awful run out. But hey, we got the under of Minnesota-Tennessee. Everything's going good in tails. You can check that out at the video description box below. I'll talk about that between the like and the lock like I normally do. But not a whole lot else to say here from the get-go. I'm watching some of this Cincy game. I ended up on T. Higgins anytime touchdown. Would like him to find the box here in the second half, but we're recording this at halftime. So without further ado, producer Jacob, hello, hi. I'm ready to rock. Are you? Because this is going to be a fun football game to break down. Let's get to the picks. The battle for Texas. We got Houston. We got Dallas. These are your 2 Texas NFL teams, and we're ready to rock. As Nico Collins is activated. This is the biggest news that we have from this entire game. Nico Collins, just insane against man-to-man coverage, of which Dallas, they're kind of forced into having to throw it out there. I mean, this has just been an abysmal season. And now Mike McCarthy, they're saying they're not going to make any immediate changes. Jerry Jones isn't going to make any immediate changes here before the end of the season. But you know what? Sometimes you have to just look in the mirror and just say what you got. And, well, Mike McCarthy is one of my favorite coaches of all time as a Vikings fan because he sent Aaron Jones to the Shadow Realm. And when you send Aaron Jones to the Shadow Realm, you're recognizing how bad of a coach you are. That guy is insanely good. But we get Laramie Tunsil out there on the left side of this offensive line here for Houston. And I'm really impressed by a lot of the left tackle play that we've seen in the NFL here recently from a couple of guys, specifically him. I think him, Scruggs, baby, I can't remember his first name. Is it Juice Scruggs? Baby, Juice Scruggs. I don't know. God, you got to do some Trick Daddy whenever you can. Just mix it in there. But Nico Collins, he's number 1 in PFF grading. He's number 1 in your hearts. And the former Michigan Wolverine, my dear sweet God, we haven't seen him since week 5. He ended up having that hamstring injury after he caught a touchdown because, of course, that's how it worked out. And he's one of the best 3rd, 4th round picks we've seen in a long time. Again, he was like the 90th pick, I think, out of Michigan. Nico Collins, an absolute stud. The last 2 years, 3rd and 1st in PFF grading. He wins everything in man-to-man. He is a big body thotty. He's out there getting shit done as a 6'4", 215 mastodon running across the middle of the field. And I'm very excited to see him back. I think Tank Dell is going to actually have some ancillary benefits as a result of him being back in our lives. And, well, we'll get into more about Nico Collins here in a second, but let's go to the Dallas side of things. They end up getting a number of pieces back themselves, specifically Micah Parsons, who's routinely like one of the top 10 players in PFF grading every season. He's been there. The Penn State Nittany Lion is just an absolute beast. He ended up playing only 37 snaps last week, but also they were never competitive against Philly. And now they come off of a bye, and here we are trying to figure out how he, CeeDee Lamb, some of these other major stars are going to see their snaps adjusted because, well, can they be competitive? But the spread tells us at -7, they're going to be somewhat competitive here in this spot. And that gets me started in the lean category. Again, on the show, we go lean like lock. Something I'm thinking about betting or that is of great interest to me. A like, that's usually around a half unit. A lock, that's usually around a full unit. This is kind of scaled down from that on the lock category. I don't have the lock we'll talk about up there at a full unit right now. He's a little bit less than that at 0.6. I've got Nico Collins at 0.4, but I'll explain how I'm allocating that unit across the like and lock. I want to start with CeeDee Lamb because I do think this is definitely a dude that we want to be paying close attention to. He had the shoulder injury. Sounds as though he's going to be fine. There was some concern when he just popped up out of the middle of nowhere on Saturday with the injury report, but that's normally when it drops for Monday Night Football. CeeDee Lamb has really low receiving yards numbers. We know Dak Prescott is on the IR, the IL, however you want to call it, injury list. We're going to be paying very close attention to Cooper Rush out there yet again. He looked atrocious against Philly, but I think Philly's started to show out. I mean, did you guys watch Jaden Daniels against him? I'm a big fan of osmosis when you're paying attention to something and how it affects another thing. I think the Philadelphia defense has really come on. I don't think that's a product of Sirianni, but potentially it is. I don't know. It just really comes down to, for me, being impressed by the Philly defense enough that I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, Houston, they're going to blitz at a top 5 rate in all of football, very similar to like a Flores in my Minnesota Vikings here. We talked about that as we broke down a lot of the Indianapolis Colts who had to play Houston and Minnesota back-to-back weeks. But I think in this specific spot, CeeDee Lamb over 60.5 receiving yards makes a lot of sense if you really need to find another piece here. I haven't bet it purely because of this. I want to watch the first quarter. I want to see how he's running out there. I want to make sure that that shoulder's okay. And I think this might end up being a live play for me. And you haven't heard me talk a lot about live betting on this program purely because I think you're paying a lot more vig than it's worth. But for a guy like CeeDee Lamb at 60.5, if I knew he was healthy, if I knew he was 100% to go here, this would be a like play. This would be a half unit play for me at 60.5 receiving yards. But why don't I watch the first series and just decide for myself? I think he's okay. I think this should be a play, but still, we have enough bets throughout the course of an entire NFL season, definitely throughout the NBA and MLB season, that I'm not going to force this one here for the time being. So CeeDee Lamb over 60.5, pay attention to it. I think it's very, very interesting. Alrighty, let's go to the like. Let's start the actual bets. And I talked about it. Why do I have 0.4 units on this? Well, it's kind of a math thing because when you get plus 120, plus 130, plus 140 for something, well, it kind of looks better when you have it in the 0.4 unit category because you know you're going to get paid more out than a 0.5 unit. For some people, for me, it's $100. So $100 for that. You can also have your bankroll increase like it works on OddsShopper. You know, you could have 150 sitting there and turn that into 225 on, you know, a pretty decent return on some of these anytime touchdown numbers. But I want to go to Nico Collins. I think Nico Collins is a very intriguing ad here in the anytime touchdown market. They've been very cautious with him purely because, well, I mean, you definitely want to have a healthy Nico Collins as a 6-4 Texans team taking on a 3-6 Cowboys team with so many injuries on their offensive side. But now he's going to get a lot of one-on-one coverage. And as I started breaking down, I'm not a huge like wide receiver versus cornerback matchup, but I think Kalen Carson, who potentially could be the starting cornerback against Nico Collins, is one of the worst, if not the worst, cornerback in all of football. And when you get somebody that porous out there, I do think they're going to have some safety help. I think you're going to have Donovan Wilson helping out at the safety position. Shout out the Texas A&M Aggies. You're also going to have Malik Hooker out there. Shout out the Ohio State Buckeyes. Again, these defensive guys, I don't talk a lot about them here on this program because a lot of people don't care. They play fantasy. Obviously, I break things down from a DFS angle and from a sports betting angle. And, well, those are always going to be more offensively focused. But promise you, I'm always paying attention to them. I think Nico Collins has potentially the best cornerback matchup he's had all season long against Kalen Carson, who I have graded as the 107th out of 109 graded cornerbacks. PFF, 107th out of 108 graded quarterbacks. I don't know why we have a disparity there, but it doesn't matter. What matters is plus 135 is the number at FanDuel.com. That is a very, very nice number to be getting on the number one wide receiver, no doubt about it. I know we saw some nice stuff out of John Mechie. I know that Tank Dell can be serviceable when there's somebody else there, but Nico Collins is the go-to guy here. There are no questions asked. They've waited long enough. He is 100% to go here in this spot. And I think this is a fantastic number to be getting based on what we saw the last couple of weeks here from this Dallas secondary. Alrighty, y'all, before we get to the lock, check out Tails. This is the lovely thing that we can talk about here. If you guys want to get all of my picks in the NBA and the NFL for completely $0 for an entire month, well, sign up with the pick'em sites on the left side of your screen. Sign up with the sports books at the right side of your screen, or rebet there at the bottom. If you guys sign up at any one of these 11 sites on your screen, where there are also awesome stuff, Bet365, bet 5, get 150. Right now, if you're in one of those 11 states. At DraftKings Pick 6, you bet 5, you get $50 in Pick 6 credits. These are incredible deals, but when you guys follow these 4 steps, these 4 super simple steps, and you sign up at one of those 11 sites, you have an opportunity to get an entire month of Lindy stuff for free. So send that email to support@oddshopper.com with your welcome email and your first settled bet, and you'll get all of that for $0. Only if you're 21 and over. If you have a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's go to the lock, shall we? So we've talked a lot about the receiving game here with Houston. We've talked about Dallas here as they're starting to get healthier. I mean, last week was really the first time that we saw Micah Parsons back in quite some time. He hadn't played since week 4. He ends up showing up here. He played all of 37 snaps. But again, I think part of that was because of the blowout. They were never remotely competitive on the offensive side there against Philly. And hey, shout out Philly's defense for really turning things around. Last 5-6 weeks, been number 1 in PFF grading, been number 1 in my model. Incredible stuff. They didn't really have to play anybody for a 5-week stretch, but what they did against Washington on that Thursday night game was impressive enough for me to at least give Dallas the benefit of the doubt. But Houston, they're going to blitz a lot. They're also 7-point favorites here on the road in their home state, which is kind of wild. Again, Dallas, Jerry World, going to be wild stuff here if Dallas can't get ahead early. And I think that's kind of the way that Vegas and we are expecting this to go. Now, I don't want to bet 7. I do not want to lay the 7 points here with the Houston side of things, but there's something that I think speaks to them being ahead in this game and potentially playing towards that 7 points that I think can be equally as enticing. And for me, that is Joe Mixon rushing yards. I'm not a super square. You've probably noticed, I mean, Devon Achane, we've had there a number of times where he's been like 45 yards rushing or, 35 or 40 yards receiving. We've had a number of these running backs, these bell count running backs who have showed up here recently in the last couple of weeks, but we haven't even jammed like a Derrick Henry in 90 plus rushing yards, like a number of these spots purely because I think they've been pretty efficient. This is kind of inefficient to me, despite the fact that it's sitting at 84.5 yards rushing. Now, why is that exactly, Eric? Well, I'll tell you. I think Joe Mixon has a chance to completely destroy and dismantle this Dallas defensive line. We're talking 31st in defense right now against the run, 152.1 yards per game on the ground that they're giving up per game. And Joe Mixon is a flat-out bell cow. Houston parted ways with Cam Akers. They also have a Goomba Wale who basically is only out there for receiving downs. Never going to be a guy who's rotated in there on first, second down. Not really somebody who's going to be getting any kind of carries unless this game gets into crazy garbage time. And as such, I think Joe Mixon is way undervalued. I have him for 102.5 rushing yards here. So take that for what you will. At Stochastic, which is on the DFS on the fantasy side of things, we have him at 104 rushing yards. So even a little bit more than I have him at. And that already falls into the lock category. Obviously, you have a distribution of things. You're looking at your tail. You're looking at your bell curve. And basically, well, I've got his median at 90 rushing yards for this game. It's one of my favorites that we've had on one of these primetime games, which I always get nervous about saying because it's like, oh, we've had a really good run of primetime games, sweeping last Thursday, having a great Monday with Kyren Williams doing his absolute damn thing. I love the returns we've had on the primetime slates, but this might be my favorite one in a while. However, I only have it at 0.6 units here at the moment, purely because I think there's lots of ways where Nico Collins scores a touchdown. Joe Mixon has 84.5 rushing yards. And I just kind of want to see where the market ends up landing as we get closer to lock because, well, those are not exactly the most correlated things on the planet Earth. I mean, otherwise I might as well just bet Houston -7, right? But I love Joe Mixon over 84.5 rushing yards. You should play it. If you're not going to play the Nico Collins touchdown or you don't have access to it or you're playing Pick'em, I think this is one of those full send things where you could send this for a unit if you really wanted to. But feel pretty good about the card. Feel very, very excellent about these reads recently on primetime slates. Let's keep the party going. And that does it for another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. Head to the comment section below. Let me know your favorite plays that exist on this Dallas and Houston, Texas rivalry. Let's party. Let's party, Marty. Gonna be awesome. I'm doing like a Ozark thing here on Netflix. But anyway, producer Jacob, thank you so much for not tailing any of my picks here recently in the NFL streets. I like winning money, so thank you so much. Anyway, you don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, we've got at Eric Lindquist. You guys can sign up and find me there. If you have any questions, that is where you can find me. That is where you can ask such questions. And yeah, check out NBA Lindy's as well here for Monday. Until next time, friends, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the NFL streets on Monday night.